And welcome to the Mayor's Magazine. This is our show for November 2010. Thank you for joining us. I'm Mick Cornett, the Mayor of Oklahoma City. And in our very first segment, a special treat, we have Wayne Coyne, who lives in Oklahoma City and is the lead singer of the Flaming Lips. Wayne, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me, Mayor Cornett. It's great to see you.
It is great to have you in Oklahoma
It's great to
City.
see you in the flesh. Because
see
I
me-
see pictures
you see
of
me
you
when
and
I'm not in the flesh?
Well, I see you, just like on TV and in the newspaper and all that, and then I forget, wow, you're a real person. I really get to meet you.
Well, and
It's
to a
profound.
certain extent, I represent Oklahoma City, but so do you. I mean, you're a worldwide ambassador saying positive things about us.
And you would be surprised how much I'm the only thing people will associate
No,
with
I'm not
Oklahoma
surprised
City.
at all.
They will say it as if nothing else has ever existed there. But you have to remember, I'm running into weirdo music fans.
Yeah, that's right.
But I suppose if I was a football player or something, or even you traveling around, I might attract people.
So
who
would
are
you say
thinking
you have a
something else.
cult following? If someone said that, are you insulted by that, or does that is that a
No, I mean
compliment?
I've always liked the idea of part of me is a little bit like Charlie Manson. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. No, but I think music fans, if they truly love your music, there is a sense of a Pied Piperness about it. But I don't think that's not egotistical. I mean, I think people want that. I think they want to, even like me meeting you right here. It's sort of like they get to see this person who sings this song that means so much to them. And I've done that plenty. And it doesn't ever feel weird. I mean, I've met, people like Paul McCartney and Pete Townsend, and it's wonderful, So, but I guess our audience would be considered cultish. I mean, they kind of know things about us that I didn't realize they would know about us, and they don't always love enough other groups for it to seem like they just love music in general, and I'm part of that. But a lot of our audience is like that. A lot of our audience would be like you. They're just nice people who like music, and it's no big deal. Yeah.
So you grew up in Oklahoma City. What part of the city did you grow up in?
I think we started on the south side. Now when I drive past this house on 51st and Drexel, I don't recognize it, but I was very young. So we must have moved from Pittsburgh when I can't remember, we would talk to my mom and dad about this. Why'd you come here? And it always just seemed like, oh, I don't know. I mean, it never, I know my.
They didn't have a definitive reason?
Well, my dad had this offer to, at the time you have to think of it like the early 60s. It seemed like the West, going west and getting out of a place like Pittsburgh where it was all about steel and I don't know, was there coal and stuff? I don't know. I mean, he looked at this as an opportunity to do this new way of living. And so, but it was never romanticized or thought of as an epic adventure, as it would to me and you. You came from Pittsburgh and you had 6 children. What were you thinking?
Yeah, what was your plan? What was the? Yeah.
Well, luckily, I think my mom and dad, they didn't think they needed a plan. I think they thought, well, we'll just do it, and I'm sure, it'll work out. And, as much as I would talk to them, I mean, they're not alive anymore. As much as I would talk to them about it, it never felt like a brave leap into the unknown. They always felt like, oh, I'm sure it'll be fine. So we lived on the south side for a little while, and then we moved to War Acres for a little while. And I think it must have been in the mid-'70s where we moved to where most of us live now, in this more downtown area.
And so what schools did you attend?
I went to Putnam City for a little while. I think I went to a Catholic school. I think it's still there, St. Charles, maybe up on...
Yeah, on 50th.
50th, you're right, yeah. But only for a brief time.
And which Putnam City school did you attend?
What would have been called, the one that's right around there?
The elementary school? Is that what you're talking
Must
about?
have been over there on 39th Street.
Yeah, Central Oak.
Yeah,
that would be Putnam
yeah.
City Elementary School. Now Jim.
Yeah. And a lot of that, until recently, was totally unchanged. I mean, I could drive by there and have a flashback of being in the 4th grade or something,
Right.
But now a little bit of it's starting to change. But 39th Street, I don't know if you remember, back in the day,
Sure I do.
that was like the strip,
Yeah.
where people rode motorcycles and
With Putt Putt and Long John Silver's and the Volkswagen place
I
and
know,
McDonald's.
and a lot of that, some of that is still there, but a lot of it's
Yeah,
changed
you
now.
worked at a Long John Silver's, not that one. I don't
Not
think.
that one, right?
But
Right.
How did that happen?
Well, I don't know if that, if a lot of people would look at that as like a great opportunity, but but for me,
you probably learned a lot.
well, I was just turning 16 and my brother worked there. so I had a good in.
Yeah.
See what I mean? It's always.
So you didn't need a resume?
I think I can get you a job. And, you know, when you're 16, I mean, I think I already wanted to do music, but you don't know how you're going to do that or anything. So the idea that I could make, you know, $80 a week working at Long John Silver's and being a fry cook or whatever, and then I could go home and do music or whatever. I think that's what you want, is this idea you just get to, you're free, but you're making, you know, your own little bit of money or whatever.
But most people have one of those jobs and they just work there a little while.
Well, maybe that's good for them. Yeah, I mean, for me, the more I got into music, the more this job seemed to encourage it or accommodate the idea that I could
How
be.
so? What was the
Well,
synergy there?
Well, you know, I guess I was. Is it lucky that I didn't really feel like I could do anything else, but I also didn't feel like I needed to make $1 million a year. You know,
yeah.
a lot of the groups that I was starting to like, and a lot of the people that I was starting to see bands coming through Oklahoma City, you know, they weren't rock stars. They were people that were doing music and art, and they believed in it, and they tried their best to make money at it. But a lot of them did the same thing that I did. You know, they'd be playing in Oklahoma City, they'd be touring around America, but they'd say, yeah, when we go home, you know, we work at warehouses and we work at restaurants. And so I never felt that this was demeaning in any way.
Right.
Even though I would run into a lot of people from high school that you have to remember, even in like the late 70s, early 80s, would be working, you know, on these oil rigs and stuff like that. I guess some of them making maybe $1,000 a week. I don't know. And they would say, why do you work this silly job? And I tried to explain to them as best I could. I probably explain it a lot better now than I did then. But the idea that, you know, I'm free. You know, I don't have a lot of money, but I'm free, and I want to pursue music and my ideas. And I try to tell that to young people even now when I meet them, that, you know, this idea that you get to dream.
Right.
But you're still busy doing something. I think that's a powerful thing. It's really a joy. I mean, dreaming about what you might become, or dreaming of what you know, of your songs and your identity. I mean, to me, that was great. But it's also great that it came true. I could see it also, you know, if I, you know, wasn't able to be remotely successful
Right.
in being in the band, it may not have been such a good story. But for me, it showed me this, you know, that all those experiences I had. I mean, the main experience that changed me there is not a good experience, but it's a powerful one. When I was 16, that we got robbed.
Really?
And there was a series of robberies going on at the time, and I believe this wasn't that long after the Sirloin Stockade.
Right. So late 70s probably.
That's a pretty famous thing. I'll mention that somewhere out there in the world, and people will remember that. You
Yeah.
know, but. So every time someone had, you know, any restaurant that had gotten robbed around town, everybody would know about this. So when we got robbed on this night, you know, all that flies through your mind. And when you're young, it flies through there with not much else in there. And you just think, oh my God, I'm going to die. And I remember, you know, we laid on the floor. It seemed like an eternity. I'm sure it was only about a minute, you know. But we laid on the floor with these guns to our head. And I thought, oh my God, I'm going to die. This is how it happens. You know, you watch movies and it seems like an epic thing.
Yeah.
Or you read about, you know, but I realized then it's like, you know, I haven't done anything. And my, you know, all these people that I know, I didn't say anything to them. You know, all these things occurred to you in this flood of this is the end of my life. And then, you know, luckily they got their $400 that they robbed us for. Seems hardly worth it now.
Yeah.
And ran out the door, and we laid on the ground for a little bit and slowly poked our heads up and realized that we were alive, you know. But I have to say, even that thing, saying that right then, when I was 16, it's funny, I realized I was alive. And I'd never considered it before. I mean, maybe that's great that I didn't know how dangerous the world was, or how petty or how random the world was until then. But that idea that I'm alive, you know, I think it propelled me for a little while anyway. I think you always go back to the way that you were eventually, but it propelled me for a little while just to do this thing that I wanted to do and not be embarrassed about it, or not be afraid of failure. So I think it was, you know, for whatever it was worth, that moment probably defined even some of the way that I am right now.